Relations between Pakistan and United States always very complex. And to discuss this complex relationship today, we are joined by new U.S. Ambassador to Pakistan, Ambassador Richard Olson. Ambassador, thank you very much for joining and sparing some moments with us.
It's a great pleasure. Thank you very much for the welcome.
Let me go right to the subject.
Yes, please.
Tell us, what are the priorities of United States now in this region, keeping in context of Pakistan?
I would say we regard Pakistan as a very important partner, a country that has great significance, not just in the region, but throughout the world. We're very conscious of the fact that Pakistan is a country that by the middle of the century will be demographically the fourth largest country in the world. And so it's important that we have a strong partnership between the United States and Pakistan based on mutual interests and mutual respect, identifying our common interests and working on the basis of mutual respect.
Lately, we have seen the relations between two countries are not that well. So how would you fix it?
Well, it's no secret that we've gone through a difficult year. There was a difficult period in 2011, beginning of 2012. I think that both sides have decided that our partnership, which actually extends back 65 years, needs to continue. And so with the apology by Secretary Clinton last summer for the very unfortunate Salalah incident and our expression of regret for the loss of lives in that terrible incident, and then the decision of Pakistan, the very welcome decision of Pakistan to reopen the supply lines, there has been a lot of engagement between the two sides. The foreign minister, the president have been to the United States, had high-level meetings. We've had some working groups. We've had some high-level visitors from our side and more to come. So we are talking once again intensively to identify where our interests intersect and to advance the agenda on the basis of those interests.
Ambassador, we have always listened to Secretary Clinton and Pakistani officials saying that the relations between two countries are now strategic relationship, and there are many areas where the development is being made. But what we have seen practically, if there is some hindrance in war on terror, there are some dispute, then we see development in all other areas also stop.
Well, I think that we want to have a relationship that encompasses the full range. We have been a partner with Pakistan for a long time. We've always had an assistance program, and we have right now a very strong assistance program with Pakistan, focusing on, amongst other things, energy, economic growth, health, education, and some important work that we do in the areas that are most affected by the conflict in Afghanistan, KP and Fatah. But I think over time, we want our relationship to be about trade, not just aid. And I think that there is a great role for the private sector in Pakistan. Already you have a very vibrant private sector. We want to encourage more linkages between our private sector and yours. We just held a conference in London about a month ago to explore business opportunities for American firms in Pakistan and for enhanced opportunities for Pakistani firms to export to the United States, including taking advantage of a lot of preferences that Pakistani goods already enjoy in the United States, but maybe not every Pakistani businessman is aware of.
You very rightly pointed out that countries, they have spoken about trade, not the aid, but there was a promise made by President Bush that there will be ROZs in the Fatah area. Mm-hmm. We don't see any development on that because of political composition in the U.S. Congress. So can you tell us, is there any chance about this legislation? Because again, we have Republicans in majority in the House of Representatives.
Well, ROZs has proven to be very, very challenging domestically, and that's true. But what we would like to do is to address, we have right now before us an opportunity to conclude between the United States and Pakistan a bilateral investment treaty. This is a treaty that would protect investors in both countries. We think it's a wonderful treaty, and we've been negotiating it with the government of Pakistan for a very long time, if I'm not mistaken, since 2004. We think it's high time that we conclude that agreement. In itself, it will provide protection to investors, and that's a good thing. Beyond that, it will signal, make a political signal to maybe some people in the United States who might be skeptical about an economic relationship with Pakistan, that Pakistan is indeed open for business and interested in expanding these relationships. So there are challenges, there are domestic political challenges, you're correct, but I hope that we can work together in partnership to build some opportunities.
So you've been also meeting Pakistani politicians. You met Nawaz Sharif at his residence. You tell us anything what discussed between both of you?
Well, first of all, I met with Mian Nawaz Sharif as a notable person of Pakistan. Of course, former Prime Minister twice. And I wanted to come pay my respects to him, and of course to the Chief Minister, Shahbaz Sharif. So we had a very, very cordial lunch. He received me very warmly, and I felt very at home in his and appreciative of his hospitality.
Lunch must be very delicious.
It was very delicious, I can assure you.
Was there any discussion about the forthcoming political situation, particularly in context of the elections which Pakistan is going to have next year?
Well, my message, which is one that is consistent, and I think I've been saying it on the media, is that we look forward to free and fair elections in Pakistan, the timing to be determined by Pakistan, and we take no position on who should win or lose in that election. That's up to the Pakistani people. But what we think will be significant is we look forward to welcoming the first transfer of authority from one civilian government to another civilian government in Pakistan's history. And we think that will be a very important milestone. We look forward to the moment when we can come out and congratulate the Pakistani people on that achievement.
Well, political stability in Pakistan is always remain a question. When you're meeting these Pakistani politicians and other Pakistani officials, is there any fear, or you just have any talk of any takeover, any destabilization as far as the political process is concerned?
As I said, I think that we are very appreciative of the fact and salute the Pakistani people for their democratic achievement over the past period of years. We look forward to seeing a transition from one civilian authority to another civilian authority by means of elections, and we certainly don't anticipate anything else.
I particularly ask this question because there's a perception, general perception in Pakistan, that there is some kind of tension between the office of the army chief and the Chief Justice of Pakistan. Then there's talk of Bangladesh model. So some people are fearing that elections, we are talking of elections, but maybe there are no elections and there is a caretaker setup. Do you foresee that?
One hears many stories, but of course I'm an ambassador. I'm a foreigner, so I'm not. It is not my job to comment on the internal politics of Pakistan and the arrangements. All I will say is that we think it's very important that Pakistan continue to be a democracy. And as I said before, we look forward to free and fair elections and to the transfer of one civilian authority to another as determined by free and fair elections by the Pakistani people.
If you look at the political domestic arena, so we see a lot of trouble in Karachi, we see a lot of trouble in Balochistan, and then also blasts in other parts of the country. Do you fear that if this trend is on, it will create instability in Pakistan?
Well, I think that, first of all, I want to say that I think the question of extremism in Pakistan is something I've heard a lot about in the time I've been here from contacts with Pakistani notables and people that I've met. But I think that these are fundamentally questions that have to be resolved by the Pakistani government. It's a question of internal security.
Now, since we're talking of war on terrorism, we have read in the papers, and also it's coming out of Washington, that Pakistan is not doing enough in Waziristan to wipe out all these hideouts of suspected terrorists. What do you say?
Our position is that any operation in North Waziristan is up to the government of Pakistan to decide whether or not to do it. It's up to the government of Pakistan to make the decisions about North Waziristan.
Whenever we speak to Pakistani officials, they raise one thing. They say that United States is asking in Afghanistan to engage in dialogue with various groups, but when it comes to Pakistan, most of the time Washington is unhappy if we start negotiating with these groups.
Well, I'm very happy to say that this week, as you know, the government of Pakistan welcomed the High Peace Commission coming from Afghanistan. Mr. Rabbani was here at the invitation of the government of Pakistan. My understanding is that there were very, very good talks, and there were some measures agreed to between the two sides, and I think that should help to build a greater sense of confidence between Afghanistan and Pakistan, especially on this important topic of reconciliation. We think Pakistan has an important role to play in Afghan reconciliation, and we're very happy to see that the Pakistani government sees it the same way and is taking concrete steps toward that direction.
Another dispute between Afghanistan and Pakistan is that cross-border movement, because a lot of time we have heard from Kabul that the terrorist attacks in Afghanistan are sponsored by the groups who live in Pakistan, and they cross the borders. But the same, when we listen to Pakistani officials, they say that there are number of incidents where people crossing border from Afghanistan attacked on Pakistani territory. So this cross-border activity, how you can stop it? Do you have any vision about it?
Well, first of all, let me say that we think it's very important that Afghanistan and Pakistan have a good relationship. And we want to encourage that in every way possible. And we're delighted to see initiatives on both sides to improve the relationship. With regard to the question of those who may be operating in Afghanistan, this has been a topic of discussion between the Pakistani military and the American military and the Afghan military. And for our part, the American military forces are prepared to take action and are taking action against those who are operating in parts of Kunar and Nuristan and threatening to Pakistan. We do encourage similar action on the part of the government of Pakistan. But as I said beforehand, it's up to the government of Pakistan to make decisions about its internal security and about any operations in North Waziristan.
And lastly, I'll ask you, as you mentioned earlier, that the United States is helping Pakistan in various other fields. The cooperation is not confined only to a war on terror. There's a big problem in Pakistan, that is in energy sector. Mm-hmm. And Pakistan was depending a lot on Bhasha Dam.
Yes.
And the funding was supposed to come from Asian Development Bank and World
Yes.
Bank, but that funding is not coming.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a perception that if U.S. uses influence over World Bank, then probably the aid would come. Can Pakistan expect that U.S. will use its influence over World Bank to get funding for this project?
Well, first of all, it's an excellent question. First of all, let me say that in the energy sector, I want to just say that we have already been quite active. We've been refurbishing a number of hydroelectric dams, some of which we have history going back to the 60s and 70s. We have added 400, through our projects in cooperation with the government of Pakistan, added 400 megawatts to the national grid over the course of the last few years, which is enough to provide electricity for 6 million people. We have further projects online that we are expecting by the end of next year will bring that total to 900 megawatts. So we are already making substantial contributions in the energy sector. Damer Basha, we have certainly heard the government of Pakistan, and the government of Pakistan has made it one of the central projects that they're interested in pursuing. We are prepared to support it, and we are prepared to be supportive in the context of a multilateral consortium of donors, let us say, because this is a very big project. It will not be possible for any single donor, even the United States of America, to fund the entire dam. What will be necessary is for the donors to come together, including multilateral donors, donors such as the Asian Development Bank, perhaps the World Bank might have some participation, but in any case, and I think that will also probably require some private sector financing, and that will inevitably require some measures, I think, of reform in the energy sector to make the business proposition attractive. The lead has to be with the government of Pakistan, and I'm pleased to say the government of Pakistan is taking the lead. So our job is to be a leading supporter.
The reason I asked you this question is because in Islamabad, when we talk to officials, they tell us that Pakistan is now looking at Russia and China to get support for these dams because there's an apathy on part of Washington.
Well, who Islamabad turns to in terms of donors is of course the government of Pakistan's choice, and I don't think I want to be in the position of getting into a competition amongst donors for who will be building dams. I would just say that for our part, we are interested in being a leading supporter of the government of Pakistan in its hydroelectric sector.
Lastly, I'll ask, you've been here now for so many days. Tell us, did you tasted any Pakistani dish, and if yes, what did you like the most?
Well, I have had a number of Pakistani dishes, and I would have to say I'm not sure I have all the names so far, but the curried chickpeas, I think aloo is very, is a particularly delicious one. But I've had many delicious dishes actually. So,
Ambassador, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been my pleasure. It's good to meet you.